Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Philly Pulse, your city sports beat with Joe Stasiak, Sean Lochner, Michael Warren. He'll be along in just a minute. Special guest today, Jon Marks from from PHLY Radio. We're going to have him on in a few minutes talk about the Tush Push. Sean, how you doing today, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Yeah, I'm real excited to have John on. He's been on Philly. He's got his show over at PHLY, so it's good. Obviously, he had some words in regards to the Tush Push and how it was being portrayed, of what was going on at the meetings and things of that
Well,
nature.
well, then
Go
let's
ahead.
let's. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Then let's let him
Let's get him.
unveil what he has. I wrote another piece on it today, from what I gathered, and let's bring Jon Marks in from his show, Philly, which he does a podcast every day, 8 o'clock, right? 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
Sean,
yeah. 8 o'clock in the
hey,
morning. I think right before Anthony Gargano.
my man, Johnny Marks from Philly. What's up, brother, man? How you doing? Welcome to the Philly Pulse. Good to see you,
What's
bud.
up, big dog?
How you doing, man? Sean
Good. How are
Lock
you?
up above you, like the Brady
Hey,
Bunch there.
John, it's a pleasure meeting you, man. I've been listening to you for years. I lived in Minnesota for about nine, and there was times when you left the Fanatic and went to WIP, you would stream on Twitter during commercial breaks, and I'd always chime in with you. So it's awesome to finally meet you. Thanks for
What's up,
joining us.
Sean? I
What's up?
appreciate that.
Johnny Marks, how you doing, pal? I've talked to you in a while. Things going well. I heard, because I listened to John. Not in a great mood yesterday. Was that all tush push related? Because you sound like you're in a better mood today, and
No,
you're rocking with the show. And we're gonna get into the tush push, but no, I'm just kind of busting your chops. How you doing?
that was wife and child and
Oh,
me working from home. It's great when you don't have to commute. Occasionally, I do the show from downstairs in my basement, and they needed me to do it from home, which is great. But I got three maniacs running around yelling about breakfast and making my wife. But you know how it is, man. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm trying to get focused to do the show, and I got children, so.
I miss those days. Real quick, tell the audience that doesn't know, since you left WIP, what have you been doing?
Slowly financially draining my bank accounts and going broke and getting in the marital. I'm working now at PHLY. So PHLY is the first digital sports network. First one was in Denver, then they went to Phoenix, and they went to Chicago. So Philly is now the fourth market. They launched in Dallas back in September. So think like sports radio but digitally, right? So
Sure.
Anthony has a daily show 9 to 11. We have sports specific shows. So our Eagles show is Bo Wolf and Zach Berman, Fran Duffy, who worked for the Eagles for many years,
Yeah.
Jamie Lynch. So we have sports specific shows: Sixers, Kyle Newbeck, Devon, Derek Bodner, Flyers, Broad Street Hockey. So we cover the spectrum of sports, all four of them, the Union as well, but we do it a little bit differently. So I'm doing it. I'm doing all the sports. I'm not focusing on one sport. I'm kind of doing my show. It's an hour every day, 8 to 9 a.m. You can see it on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Philly with John Marks. That's how you get it.
My man. Well, we appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a while, but and I appreciate I saw your kickback to Diana Rossini on Twitter, and I contacted you. I was like, I could make something out of this because I get her game, and you obviously were onto it. You gave me a story. I wrote it up, and then of course we thought things were going to happen yesterday, and I didn't think they were going to hit 24, and then it got tabled. What do you know about what went on yesterday? Because I just wrote another piece talking about what a sham show that had to have been. Now the
Yep.
Packers they're going to change it now so it doesn't look like they're specifically targeting the Eagles play because they want to go back to changing the rules. That means it covers, it's like all encompassing. It's like it's like a loophole around it.
Yeah. So Rossini had said last week in her podcast, it was almost like a throwaway line that she
Yeah.
said that the momentum's building towards the tush push being banned. And I called it BS. And I guess really in hindsight, she was on to something. But I guess my point was there's a 0% chance they're getting 24 votes there.
Right.
Then that's what
You
I
said
put in
that.
the
You did
tweet.
say that.
Yeah. 0% chance. And I was right. But to your point, Joe, that they're gonna change because the Packers come out and they say, well, we need to ban this because of injuries and pace of play. wasn't one documented injury.
Not
And it's
one.
amazing. Not one. And it's amazing because the canned responses from coaches, even yesterday, like Matt LaFleur, he gave all the canned answers. He said, oh, well, it's not a football play. It's really a rugby play and injury. And even if there haven't been injuries, we're kind of looking ahead. How can you look ahead
Look
to injuries that
ahead.
haven't happened yet?
Football's an injury waiting to happen on any play. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Oh, we
Yeah.
expect to see a major. There's a major injury every week in a game.
Yeah, it's pretty much you're going to get hurt if you play football, and they're trying to make it specifically about the tush push. I mean, I think the reality is, and when Roger Goodell wants something done, for the most part, things get done, right? And it just feels like that them taking this off the table to rewrite it. And Goodell even said yesterday, hey, if we write a new rule, it would be not about the Eagles, it would be about you can't push the offensive player from behind. So no other team does it other than the Bills occasionally. So yeah, to me, it sure seems like that they're going to write it up to be able to get it passed. It's amazing because Joe and Sean, when you look at it, it is, like the Eagles and the Bills do it occasionally. There's not one other team that is built to do it. A, they don't have a quarterback that wants to do it, and B, they don't have an offensive line that's built to do it.
Sure.
One
Right.
other team is gonna run this type of a play, right? Like they don't want the quarterbacks don't want to do it. You think Lamar Jackson wants to run a tush push? No, he wants to run, but not the
Yeah.
tush push. There's no other quarterback or offensive line that it works for.
Yeah.
So they're gonna make sure they get rid of it.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry, real quick.
no, go ahead, Joe.
What precedent is there that they can say timeout? Let's rework. Don't you have to come prepared with your language and your proposal? And if it doesn't hit this time, you're still supposed to vote, like the bylaws, which I laid out in my thing today, say owners meeting in March. Doesn't say unless there's more to talk about. You vote, then bring it back next year. Like they would have been safe for another year at least. It does look like now the NFL, with what Roger said yesterday about maybe bringing back the old rule, and what Roger wants he gets, because the owners and he, they work together pretty much.
Right.
How did that happen? And how did anyone come up with the number 16 if there was actually no vote? Do you have
Right. Well, it's like a straw poll, right? They're not going to be embarrassed and be like, "Oh, it got voted down. All right, well, I guess we got to move on." No, they're not going to move on. I mean, the reality is that the Eagles are really the only team, and you can say the Bills because they do it, but Josh Allen's too damn big, right?
right?
Jalen Hurts is the perfect.
He's
He's
perfect.
big, he's tall, but he's not too tall.
Right.
He
Mhm.
can still get low, and we know the 600-pound squat and everything like that. But so, what are they going to do if they ban this? They're going to run a quarterback sneak without being pushed from behind, and they're going to be
Exactly.
more successful doing that than any other team in football. So,
Right.
I mean, maybe they won't have a 95% success rate. What would it be, 85%?
Yeah.
So, it's not like you're going to be able to stop the Eagles in short yard situations.
Right.
It'll just be a quarterback sneak.
No little
Right.
It's not
fudge.
going to be the tush push.
Exactly. And John, to your point, the Eagles are going to still practice it because that's what they do. They practice to be better at something that the league is not. So you're absolutely right. It baffles me that it's like we're having this conversation about a play. It's just it's not sexy, and I think that's what it really boils down to. Is it's not sexy for the NFL, and
Well,
they
they
can't
can't.
stop it.
I think
So
it's the
let's
other
get rid of
teams
it.
can't stop it. I think that's their problem.
And if I was looking ahead to next season and say like, okay, what's the potential problem of the Eagles doing this? Because it's so unstoppable. What did Washington do in that NFC Championship game? Well, you're at the 1 yard line, and if the Eagles score a touchdown, the game's over, and they know
Mhm.
it. So, what is the penalty for Washington jumping off sides or trying to time the snap or
Half
trying
a
to cause a
yard.
fumble?
Half a yard.
Nothing, right?
Yeah,
Right.
an
Mhm.
So
inch, 2 inches.
right. So the Eagles could have a false start, which sends them back 5 yards. The Eagles could fumble the ball in the exchange
Which they
and lose
have.
it. So there's every incentive in the world for the defensive team to act a fool to try to
Mhm.
stop the play.
No,
Now, if every team says, you know what, we're going to act like idiots and we're going to do this every time that they get to the 1 yard line, that's bad for football.
that's
And
a
I
bad look.
and I think that's what the NFL is. This has nothing to do with injury. I think the NFL is looking at that and saying, "Hey, like if I didn't blame Washington for doing it. The game's over if they score a touchdown there. So
Right.
you're so desperate.
Right.
So if there's no penalty for really doing that, you're going to have more teams to try to deal with it that way. And that's a really really bad look.
The Rams were yapping. Do you remember when how close the Rams game got? Well, remember when Lane Johnson flinched because he heard other guy, he thought that the snap count moved him back 5 yards. They had to kick a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown there, which would essentially have not made that game so close at the end. Other teams, yeah, they're trying to pull the Eagles off sides. They're trying to make them flinch, stuff like that. But yes, the Lulu plays made it really. That is not good for football, and it's their product. I get it. Look, baseball got rid of the shift and they cut things down, and it worked. Look, it worked.
It
So
did.
it's just a shame because I think it's really born out of that most teams can't really stop it. So, but I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. Hey, John,
Any
anything else out of the meetings come out that sparked your interest with any of these rule changes or anything like that?
I think the kickoff. I think the moving the kickoff touchback to the 35-yard line is really really interesting. Is it enough to dissuade teams from kicking it out of the end zone? Right. The 30 wasn't enough. The 30 was like, nah. Teams are still like, nah. We don't want to return.
we're
Is the 35 enough? I think the 40 100% would be enough.
100%, yeah, that's
The 35, I think, is going to be a split. You'll see more returns, but you're not going to see it where you're still going to have some teams that say, we'll take our chances at the 35 rather than take the chance of a deeper return. And I also think you're now going to start to see strategy of
right.
whoever's doing the kickoff, whether it's the punter or whether it's your kicker, of trying to kick it higher and putting it maybe at the 5 yard line in the corner.
Hmm.
So strategically, I think it makes it interesting. I'll be curious to see if teams are willing, because I mean I still think more teams than not will be willing to just give them the ball at the 35 yard line and not worry about anything.
Any chance, because it does look like it, I want to get back to the tush push real quick. Would you be shocked if it did not pass this year?
I wouldn't be shocked because if there really was 16 teams, that means you need 8 more votes. And one of the other things I read, you guys probably saw the same thing, was that 20 of the teams, when they said, hey, listen, who wants more information on all of this? Who wants more information on injury? Who wants more information on this? And I believe I read 20 teams said, yes, we'd like more information. Now, the injury information is going to be zero.
Zero.
So you can try to pretend that it's like, oh, well, we're trying to get ahead of it and look. Okay, well, if you have Chris Jones laying sideways on the line of scrimmage,
Right.
he may get injured. But that's then. That's not a problem with the play.
Right.
So I think they're gonna. I think it's gonna get outlawed to where you can't push an offensive player from behind. I won't be shocked if it's not this year, but it's going that way. And the Eagles are just gonna do a regular quarterback sneak, and it'll be tough to stop.
What do you think about, okay, so that has been a very successful play for the Birds. It's not worse than 10. It's kind of like 1st and 9, but okay, they're going to figure out a way. They got a massive offensive line still, a quarterback that's strong and built, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. What do you think about how they've handled free agency and I don't know. I think it was a little bit of a shock to a lot of folks out there. They didn't think it would be stripped down as much. It sounds like Goddard's on his way out after June 1st, if you listen
Yeah.
to Sirianni yesterday. So that's going to be it's stripped down. I mean, the core is still going to be in place, and they got value guys, 1 year guys that were good at some point, but have some issues and asterisks next to their names when they come here. Um, I know it's not over, but what do you think of how this team's going to look next year?
Yeah, the Eagles are in the position now of, if you're an agent and the market's not there for your player and you were hoping for a multi-year deal, and it's like, man, there's not a lot of interest in that. All right, so what are we looking at now? All right, what's a 1 year contract?
Hmm.
And if you're a defensive player, if you're whoever, but really on defense, because their offense is pretty much set.
Yeah.
If you're on defense and 7 sacks from a player on the Eagles is more valuable than 7 sacks in a player on the Jags, because you're playing on national TV all the time, because you're with one of the better teams in the NFL. So if you're looking to parlay a 1 year deal into a bigger contract, remember last year, Josh Sweat took a pay cut to stay with the Eagles.
Hmm.
They went out and they looked for a trade. Josh Sweat looked for a trade. And if he would have found something better than what the Eagles were offering, they would have taken it. And it was a great move because they came back. He took less money. He gets 8 sacks and he turns it into a big contract with the Cardinals. So to answer your question, Joe, I think that they took a couple of swings on players that, if you want them to be your full-time defensive end, um, probably not the guys you're looking for. But if you're looking for a guy that can get you 7, 8 sacks as a pass rusher, absolutely. Like they're gonna feed, man. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Uche, I
Felix
think is
Hunt,
gonna come in and
Uche's coming in, the kid, the Olo
from
Manjar,
the
the kid
Giants.
from the
Yep.
Giants. Remember, Josh Sweat led the team in sacks last year with 8 until the Super Bowl. If you count, it posted 10 and a half, but that's not a big number. So they spread them out. That's kind of how they're doing it. And I think they're going to be okay in that area.
Yeah, and I mean, will the defense be as good? I mean, they were the best defense last year, so it's hard to you can't beat being number one.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like there's no way they were paying Milton Williams. There was no way they were paying Josh Sweat. The bad organizations, the teams that struggle, are the ones that pay big money to those players. Look at the Cardinals. Look at the Patriots. When you have that much cap room, it's because you don't have good players to pay. So you're going out and you're trying to buy good players. The Eagles don't have to do that. What they do is they have to replace those guys. And I think they have guys that are ready to step up. It's like what we learned after they won the Super Bowl in 2017 was that they had a couple of bad drafts, in part because they didn't have as many draft picks following trading for Carson Wentz. But when you don't replace the good players, now you have to go out in free agency and you have to put duct tape and you have to fill in the holes.
Exactly
The
right.
Eagles have gotten much better at drafting. So
Right.
it seems like they're much better prepared to lose players than they were before.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I have all the confidence in the world. It's funny. I'm looking back at show sheets, Joe, from a year ago when Saquon was signed and things of that nature. We talked about like how they're getting away from the most traditional style of how the Eagles were, where they never paid running backs and things of that nature. And there's certain things that, like you said, back in 17, after they won the Super Bowl, it was like there was a lot of uh, contracts given out of like, hey, thanks for we want you to keep you, and it turned out it was bad contracts. So,
They ran it
yeah,
back, and it was not a good idea.
yeah, and I think they're doing
Yeah.
it right this time, and I they're going to be there. They will.
What do you,
Yep.
Johnny, let me ask you this, Tim, about the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are quite the enigma, and the Giants, they could have saved themselves some headaches if they didn't beat the Colts in like, week 17 last year. Because now they're like in no man's land. They bring in a couple, band-aids who've had some decent years and a quarterback, and maybe they don't like Sanders, and they're probably not getting Ward, so I don't know what they're doing in their quarterback situation. We'll start with the Giants. What do you do with the Giants? Because the owner said two things, and I'm not sure if they sync up. We want our quarterback for the long term. We want to win now. Okay, he told, his GM and the coach that, and they're pretty much on borrowed time. What are the Giants doing this year, do you think?
Yeah, it's confusing to sign two veteran quarterbacks, stopgap quarterbacks, and to draft Shador Sanders. Based on what everybody's saying, it sure seems like they could still draft Shador Sanders. Although you would think if there's a guy that's ready to play, he would be pretty much ready to play right now. Do you really need two veteran backup slash starters ahead of him? I don't. So I don't really know what they're doing. Here's what I do know is that it's a bad organization that consistently makes bad decisions. And maybe they end up trading away Jameis Winston or they trade away Russell Wilson in training camp if they end up drafting Shador Sanders. But the thing about it is, if they're not going to draft a quarterback this year, why would you go out and get a Russell Wilson that may win you 7 games? Like you
Right.
had just said,
They
they won a
put
late game last year and they screw up their draft picks. What do you want to win 7 games? So you're picking in the teens?
And
You
you're
want to
going
win
to
eight
pick in the
games? So you're
middle,
picking in the
right?
teens.
But here's the
So
thing: they might not be able to, even if they wanted Sanders, get him because the Browns
the Browns.
Browns have a
Yeah.
do. Tennessee's probably going to take Cam Ward. I would.
Yep.
Will Levis there. I don't think that's the guy.
Yep.
Browns have always struggled in that area. Whether they pick one or they don't, they screw themselves. 9 ways to Sunday. I don't know what they're doing with Deshaun Watson. So they're in a bit of a quandary because then you bring in a guy. Yeah, you want to see wins, Mr. Mara? Great. Now we're going to be in the middle of the pack again. Okay, how about Dallas? Dallas, I mean, if you ever watch Get Up, it's kind of goes up against your show, but they always it's either they lead with LeBron or they lead with Jerry Jones when he opens his mouth because it's fun to talk about. For guys like in our industry, he gives you a lot to talk about. Not a lot of big signings this free agency either, like he didn't do last year. What are the Cowboys doing?
Yeah, it's the Jerry Jones show, and he's 82 years old. And until he physically, because I mean,
But
he's not going
he's
anywhere.
got the purse
No,
string, so Steven can't even say, "No, Dad, I got this." No, no, son, you don't, because I got this.
there's
That's
going to
Yeah,
be the story, the ghost of Jerry Jones after he passes. He's never going away.
yeah, it's going to be like Weekend at Bernie's. I mean, would anybody be surprised 10 years from now if he was still doing the same thing he's doing right now? They have a talented team. They have a high draft pick. They could get a wide receiver. I don't think they're going to take a running back in the first round. It's the typical Jerry Jones. It's obvious they're going to re-sign Micah Parsons. He's playing this whole thing out. He's going to end up paying more money. He did it with CeeDee Lamb. He did it with Dak Prescott twice. He had said yesterday that he'd rather wait and make sure that he's right than spend too early and be wrong. Who, like, where has it happened that he spent early and was wrong? When you identify that it's a player, right? Like Dak Prescott, you may not think Dak Prescott's the best quarterback in the world, but you know that he's going to be your guy going forward for the next 3 to 5 years, right? So you sign him, and if it doesn't end up working out, you trade him, you cut him, you move on.
Absolutely.
Jerry's making him play out twice, and you know what he did in the year they franchised him? He snapped his leg in half and he still got paid. So
Yeah.
what could possibly happen with Micah Parsons where he's not going to get paid $40 million a year by waiting? Seriously, what could possibly happen? He has no sacks and he stinks?
Right.
No, Jerry, this is a radio bit. Really, like we were in radio for a long time, Joe. You were in TV for a long time. This is a Good Day Philadelphia TV bit. This is a radio bit. Jerry Jones is a radio bit. He plays everything out because he's constantly in the news. It's unbelievable. They'll never win with him doing this. Never win with him doing this.
I agree. They waited on Dak forever, and then I think Dak's a B quarterback, sometimes B
Yep.
plus, but doesn't win the playoffs. They gave him A plus money. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you're going to win like that. And of course, look, they all get paid 50, 55 million. I don't know, I'm curious to see what Brock Purdy's going to end up with. And only two of them have won Super Bowls. Only three
Yep.
of them have been to them. Well, Brock's been to one, but Joe Burrow's been to one. Jalen's won one, and Patrick, he wins the rest. That's it. Of the all the quarterbacks you've gotten paid, those are the only two. I'll take it.
That's it.
I like our guy. I'll take our guy. This guy's been to two. He's played great in both, except for the fumble. But
Right. Like you could, I mean, listen, if they wanted to trade Dak Prescott, to me, it would make sense. If there's a team that says, hey, you know what, we'll give you something for Dak Prescott and you kind of start over and you get a bridge quarterback, you draft a quarterback, it would make sense. What they do doesn't make sense.
it
That,
what
like there was a rumor out there the Browns were talking about getting Dak Prescott, which would actually make a lot of sense. The Browns would be a playoff team with Dak Prescott.
they
Dak
would
Prescott would be a really good quarterback with
he'd be
them.
good for the Browns. He'd be
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
but
good for
like
the
for the
Browns.
Cowboys, how many years do you have to do the same thing over and over again before you're just like you got to start over? And I think the answer is a couple more years at least.
You're right.
It's about all Jerry's got left. That's about all Jerry's got left. Sean, you got one more for him. We gotta let him go. He's got a lot of things to do.
Yeah, no, I'll let him. John, thanks for coming on, man. Like I said, it's a pleasure. I just huge fan of you. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Johnny,
I
always
appreciate it.
always appreciate you coming on, man. Love listening to you and miss you, bro. Dr. Glatt, I couldn't believe that. We'll talk about that at some other time. But
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I was stunned when I walked in. I'm like, hey, where's Dr. Glatt? And then they look at each other like, he doesn't know. I'm like, oh, I don't read my email too often. They're like, shit,
Yep.
like 8 months ago. I'm like, what? I hadn't been there in a while. But you look great.
Yep.
Glad, yeah, right?
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. It happened very quickly, and before I knew it, it was like, yeah, he had passed. I'm like, what? Like this just
Yeah,
happened less than a week. So yeah.
unbelievable. Well, it's good seeing you, pal. Appreciate it.
Y- You too, man. Hit me up again. It was fun. You
I
guys
will.
did
Yeah,
good
that's
stuff.
awesome. Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
love to have
Thanks,
you on.
Johnny Marks from PHLY.
Thanks,
Philly Philly Show.
guys.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
John.
bud. We'll talk to you later, Johnny.
Talk to you.
All right, man.
He was on he was with me at 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yep.
WIP was the drive home. He was in a nice spot with the drive home with the Ike Reese show. But he's doing well. He's always doing well. He's
Yeah,
got that
yeah.
voice,
I
man.
just I respect it. I just the utmost respect for him. I mean, just
It's a good dude.
yeah, great guy. And I mean, he's a family man, and really took his work consideration and his family life, all of that into it. And
I
it's
remember
gonna be
that
a
when he
great-
was doing.
I'm really glad he was on. That was awesome
No, that was very cool.
yeah,
Yeah, interesting thoughts too. I like getting some other ideas from people, some other thoughts, and yeah, he's a good follow on Twitter too.
absolutely.
He was fired up. He has something. Didn't push him on the Rossini, but he was fired up about Rossini.
Yeah,
He had a couple tweets last week about her. But you know
absolutely.
what? She turned out to be, she was on to something. But again, anything more than nothing was, yeah, there's a little bit of momentum against it. I would think that even without anyone saying anything, I think there'd be more people against it because it's another year of data that says that no one can really stop this or replicate it. And
Yeah, I mean, like I
people
said
doing it.
yesterday, and it's really becoming, it's a political part of it's so political now. Roger doesn't want it. I I think most owners don't want it. It's not a sexy play, Joe. I really
Well,
think that's what it
it's not. It's not really sexy. Neither is quarterback
Yeah,
sneak,
and
and
it's just it's like it
but
just
a quarterback kneel down sexy.
no, but it's yeah, it is what it is. It's just
How
like
about spiking to stop the clock? That's
well,
ridiculous.
just like
In theory,
the
that's
timeouts,
ridiculous. That's
at the end of the or the
But it's
fouls
not
at
a
the
timeout.
end of
That's what made it
the game.
hard. That's what made it hard back in the day. You only get three timeouts. What's the spike? Is
Right,
that
exactly. Exactly. I mean, we could go back and forth. The NBA, where
yeah,
you foul players at the end in hopes that you get the ball back and you win, and it
yeah,
delays
you're
the game.
fouling intentionally, but not intentionally.
Yeah, there's a minute left in the game, but literally there's an hour left in the game.
Yeah,
Like it's like, come
that's
on.
true. Yeah, that's
So
true.
I mean, it's sports. This is what it is. So it's gonna go away. It is what it is. And like John said, the Eagles they're just gonna do a quarterback sneak, and the Eagles are gonna be really really good at it.
They will
So
be because they're loaded. They're still loaded
and
with a huge
their
offensive line.
line.
You
I
got
mean, come on,
Stoutland. Stoutland will figure out something.
leverage and weight. You don't think that's going into it?
Well, they've got the ingredients.
Absolutely.
They definitely have the
So,
ingredients. And
yeah.
the thing is they on third down. See, it would help them because on third down they could go from 3rd and 2 and do it. Although, I mean, they could still probably do it, but because that when they really had it rolling, I mean, they moved that pile 3, 4 yards. It's really something to watch. When you watch some highlights of what's that?
Yeah, during the well, there was a couple times where they moved. It was like
It was
Jesus.
like, geez, the whole.
Yeah, yeah. I
It's
mean, again, Joe, the biggest thing, the team practices it. They
mhm.
practice it. I mean, they talked about it all the
Well, they
time.
invented
Every
it,
single
yeah.
practice, they end the practice with that play.
Well, they should. They
And it's
invented
perfect.
it, and it works. But other teams still they practice, maybe not as much, but I don't think they
Yeah,
have the horses.
yeah.
They just don't have the horses, like the physical mass.
I just see it at me, the little conspiracy thing in my head right now is just like I'm just seeing where the Eagles at first said, you know what? This play got back introduced. What if we did it this way? Practice it, made it the tush push, made it the brotherly shove, what it came today. And then all of a sudden, Roger Goodell's there at the Lincoln Financial Field, the championship game, and he sees the defense keep on doing that play, and the offsides is getting called. And he's dialing in saying, tell him to keep doing it. This is it. We're going to put an end to it. Because to the point of if the NFL keeps on doing this, if they get to the 1 yard line, it's stupid football. So I don't know. A conspiracy went off when John was saying, like, maybe that's where they were like, the NFL was like, this is exactly what we need in this moment to get rid of this play.
What is it, the Redskin game?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yes.
no one went.
Do you
First
not pay attention to that rant? God
first
damn it.
first thing I thought of was LeVar when he was doing it, but I was doing it. I heard what you were saying, but I was watching when it was going on. Like, did you ever know that was a rule?
No.
That was what?
No.
The hospital's blowing
See
me
why my
up.
conspiracy theorist?
Well, it wouldn't be. I mean, that's the way to blow it up. If you're going to have a conspiracy and you want to do it down at the goal line, make it look ridiculous, come up with a rule no one's ever heard of, and talk like Jay. Because the first time he kind of brushed, like Jalen kind of moved away, but kind of brushed him. All right, well, he hit the quarterback. Could be a, yeah, yeah.
It's Roger. It's Roger.
Well, you get a guy who gets paid 50 million
Describe
a
the
year. He'll do
play.
whatever the owners tell him to do. I mean,
Tell him to describe the rule.
Mr. Burns.
We found a way to stop the tush push.
Why is that man wearing
Tell
pink?
the referee to explain the rule.
Judging from his attire, he must be some sort of free-thinking anarchist. Bring him to me. Good stuff, man. Hey, great stuff. Hey, Mike will be on
All right,
next
buddy.
time. I hope he's okay.
Me too. Where the hell is
Well, we
Micah?
had that powwow last night. We told him, right?
Yeah, no, we did. We told him. I mean, we bullet pointed everything out. I mean, that was a
Your
that was a hell
promo.
of a pre-show,
I
man.
hope he's okay. I don't like the
Yeah, me too.
last.
Where in the world is
I was
Micah
at
Warren?
Comcast once, and one of my editors, a friend who was over from prison, was working there, and he didn't show up one day. And Tom said, "Take us, well, we're still recording here." I'm fine with Tom, but anyway, he was like, "Yeah, well, I don't know what happened to your friend. Maybe he's dead." He turned out he died. That's why he didn't show up that day. So comes by
Awesome.
later. Tom was like,
Hopefully,
yeah, right.
everything is fine, Micah.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. But
Yeah, me too.
we appreciate it,
Then I'm
folks.
gonna feel
You're
like
on
shit.
Philly Shiz. I'm
Yes.
on Instagram, Joe Stazek 4799, or on Twitter X at Joe Stazek 975. Appreciate you watching twice this week, folks. Sean,
Yes.
you're gonna post this up around and do your little write-ups. They were really good last night.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely,
it, man.
man.
And
Absolutely.
we'll promo another guest. We'll have another guest on next Tuesday when we do this, and hopefully our third wheel. Sean,
Yeah.
Michael,
If anybody sees Mike out there, tell him to give us a
the
call.
Warren Commission. All right, brother. Appreciate you watching, folks. Thanks, Sean. I'll talk to you guys.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.